Good morning, friends. It's very good to be here with you today, and it's not just us who are presenting the body of trustees. He's here in quite good spirits and in force. There are some friends, if you would like to stand, please, who are accompanying us, and there are some friends online. Could you please put up your electronic hands so we can see who is here from trustees? So, friends, there are 14 of us, and I was reflecting earlier that there are, apart from the treasurer, there are only 3 trustees who were serving when I became a trustee 3 years ago. So there is a continuous renewal and churning of membership in the trustee body. And yet there is a sense of continuity and a sense of the work going forward and a cohesiveness about the group, which is really quite surprising and very pleasing, particularly as we only meet in person once a year, usually in June, but this year we shall be meeting in September. And that's nothing to do with the fact that one of my sons is getting married in June. That's just a rumor. So thank you, friends. So we are here to report on what we do. And it may also be helpful to know that each and every one of the trustees who serve on the body also has particular responsibilities. So there will be somebody who clerks the Finance, Property and IT Committee. There'll be somebody who clerks the Employment Committee. We have our own nominations group. We have somebody clerking we got friends on the new Program and Priorities Committee, somebody who is the champion for anti-oppression, and somebody who has responsibility for safeguarding. So there is an awful lot of work that goes on beside just being on the body of trustees and the regular work of trustees and oversight of all the centrally managed work and, of course, the finances. And I have to say that all this work could not happen if we didn't have a very, very efficient and good group of managers and workers in the employment of the yearly meeting, to all of whom I would like to express my thanks for all the support and the work that they do year in and year out. And I'm sure you will have seen this weekend how well we are being looked after by the staff of the Quiet Company. And I'm sure that you will want to personally express your thanks to them as we go around the weekend. So, before I say any more, I hope that Kit is indeed online. Kit is actually in Jordan, and despite the fact that they've been away for sort of the whole year for academic work, we have worked absolutely together, and it's more of a co-clerking arrangement really than clerk and assistant clerk. So I will present the first half of our report, and Kit will join in and present the second half. So, first of all is to say this is just an oral report, because the full report of trustees and the annual accounts will be presented at a later session of yearly meeting this year. But I'm very glad to be able to reassure you that the work already in train to prepare the accounts is going very well, and we do not expect any surprises. You may recall that you decided in 2024 not to change the structure of the central committees. But in order to address the issues that had prompted the review and to align more closely with our charitable purposes, we reviewed the strategic priorities which were endorsed by Meeting for Sufferings in March on their last meeting. And we have set up a Programs and Prioritization Committee, which is made up of representation from trustees, but also from central committee members and other friends who have particular skills to evaluate existing programs and make recommendations for prioritizing future work. So we continued to implement the commitments that you have made on anti-racism, on climate justice, and on trans inclusion. This has not always been easy or uncontested, but we've kept our focus on the spirit as well as the letter of minutes that you agreed. And of course, minutes are the commitments that you make. The work of the Reparations Working Group continues, as does research being done by friends around the country about the history of where the wealth of Quakers actually comes from. As part of this work, we committed to providing the UK Reparations Conference free use of Friends House each year. We look forward to hearing from the Reparations Working Group later this year. With the increasing erosion of civil rights in the UK, work on protest was prominent in 2025 and was emphasised by the first raid on Westminster Meeting House. Funding from the Joseph Rowntree Charitable Trust enables us to do some specific work on this. Staff also prepared an intervention in the judicial review of the proscription of Palestine action. We were disappointed not to be allowed to submit this work, but the exercise was useful and gave some important learnings. It also shows that sometimes we have to switch the focus of the work to deal with what is actually happening in the here and now. We continued to enact the changes to yearly meeting, from supporting plans for the continuing yearly meeting sessions to refreshing the financial support offered to increase access to attending the yearly meeting sessions. And now I hope that Kit is there, and Kit is going to talk a little bit more about the work of the centrally managed work. And I hope that you have all seen, either in paper or online, Making an Impact, which is 6 stories from our work, which has just been published. So look out for this. Are you there, Kit? Speak to me.
I am here. Greetings, friends. It's very lovely to see you, even from this far distance. I miss a lot of you a lot, and I'm very sad to not be at yearly meeting in person this time, presenting with Marisa. But I'm sending my love and greetings and prayers across the continent to you all. So, trustees are responsible for the delivery of the programmes under the care of central committees. Quaker Peace and Social Witness delivers centrally managed work in Britain and overseas, such as ongoing campaigning work around climate justice, the Ecumenical Accompaniment Programme in Palestine and Israel, or EAPPI, which accompanied communities in the West Bank throughout 2025. Ecumenical accompaniers were evacuated at the start of the recent war and are now doing virtual accompaniment. The Turning the Tide programme in East Africa, which aims to help local communities address the root causes of conflict, continued. Peacebuilding work in Britain supported local Quaker work, tackling far-right hatred and division. And Peace Education, a free course on peace education that staff wrote for the Open University, has had over 2,000 registrations, and they helped establish nearly 50 new peer mediation schemes in primary schools in 2025. QPSW, or Quaker Peace and Social Witness Central Committee, set up a peace reference group to assess these new threats and consider how Quakers might best respond. The work involves consultation with the wider Quaker community, with a series of online meetings and workshops being held. The process should result in a confident Quaker voice for peace. Quaker Life reviewed its priorities now that local development workers are established across the yearly meeting, and more regions are considering recruiting youth development workers. Some meetings are seeing significant growth, often younger adult attenders. friends.
Thank you, friends. And now Paul will come forward.
Good morning, friends. I'd like to deal with two matters today: the significant change in our investment policy and how we shall manage our investments in future. Our investment policy was last reviewed in 2018 when the Investment Committee was laid down. The current policy is available on our website. We hold investments because friends have given us substantial sums of money, sometimes for particular purposes, and we need to steward those resources for our society. In 2025, about 7% of our income, that's well over £500,000, came from those investments. This allows us to do more of the work that you have discerned. We have reinstated an investment committee, and we have retained the services of an investment consultant who has over 25 years' experience of ethical investing. She has helped us redraft our investment policy to ensure we are properly briefing our investment managers, particularly so that our testimonies may be followed. We have accepted advice from her which will enable us to be compliant with the Charity Code of Investment Governance, and I'm glad to say we have rejoined the Church Investors Group. The former policy excluded some areas of investment: primary producers of pornography, prostitution, munitions and related products, and fossil fuel extraction. This so-called screening was the standard way in which ethical investing commenced in the late 20th century. Many ethical funds set up after this adopted the practice. This was before the arrival of the vast technological and other conglomerates which now dominate the investment scene. Today, the world is much more complex, and it is no longer possible to say with certainty that a particular company is not involved at all in, say, the production of armaments. Some companies, which might otherwise have been considered because they have excellent governance and are working to improve their practices in all the areas in which we have an interest, might therefore be excluded. Our new policy recognises that this is a grey area. We are following our testimony on truth and integrity. Our investments have been managed for over 15 years by Rathbone Greenbank as a discretionary portfolio, which had two drawbacks. First, that the performance of our investments had been lacklustre. Secondly, that there was insufficient visibility of our investments, so that we could not be sure that our testimonies were being followed. The move away from Rathbone Greenbank aligns with the broader transition from specialised segregated portfolios. The Investment Committee therefore shortlisted and interviewed 5 fund managers using the following criteria: that they are all leaders in the environmental, social and governance, that's ESG field, that they do not countenance greenwashing, where they pretend to invest in what is green, but actually it's all smoke and mirrors, that they are aiming for positive change, and that they are large enough to be able not only to carry out very extensive research, but to engage with companies to persuade them to improve their ethical approach. Following this process, trustees agreed that our funds should be invested in the Royal London Sustainable Equity Fund and in the Royal London Ethical Bond Fund. The managers of these funds prioritise environmental, social and governance issues, which focus on companies which are leaders in sustainability and setting standards in their industries. Examples of area they are keen to support are renewable energy, education, clean water, healthcare, social housing and sustainable development. They look for indicators of improving practices and are alive to the challenges some of these complex ethical issues may present. The exclusions in the Sustainable Equity Fund directly match ours: arms, fossil fuels, tobacco, alcohol, gambling, pornography, conflict. We are mindful, however, of the complexities of today's world, and there will be times when one company acquires another and inadvertently breaches those rules. Where companies are involved in these activities, we will engage with them, both directly and through our investment managers, to try and change practices. If our concerns continue, we will ask fund managers to consider selling shares. We do, of course, have other income streams as well as investment income. The rent from Drayton House next door, the profit from the Quiet Company, and, of course, donations from you and friends and meetings all around the country, something I always like to emphasise when I have the opportunity. The breadth of BYM's work is huge, all discerned by friends. It is sometimes difficult to understand what exactly we do. This is explained in the same excellent booklet that Marisa just showed you. It is available online to those of you who are not here in Friend's House, and if you are in Friend's House and haven't yet got one in your bag, please make sure you collect one from the BYM stall. Then you can take it back to show to all the people at home who haven't had the chance to come. Our broad suggestion is that friends give £20 a month or £240 a year to BYM, but this will clearly vary depending on income. Giving advocates, a group of friends from around the country, have produced an online guide to help in this discernment called How Much Should I Give? So if you search for How Much Should I Give on the BYM website, that will give you that guide. We all belong to our local meeting and the wider Society of Friends. Without the centre, we are just a collection of scattered local meetings. BYM helps sustain our faith now and into the future. The work you ask us to do has to be paid for, so I encourage all of you and all friends to ask themselves, how do we discern how much to give to BYM? How can we encourage others to give? And I'll close by quoting from a minute made by BYM trustees last year. I said it last year and I'll say it again today. Friends need to be more explicit and robust in considering the practice of giving money as well as service for the building up of our community.